We join with Dregs, who is always thrilled to be with
look
us.
Look at that background.
There he is.
Ooh, Halliburton and surrounding area. Okay.
Yes. And I apologize. I'm literally sitting here at my buddy's cottage, and I thought I had my phone aligned perfectly, and just as you were coming to me, it's being propped up by a potted plant. I don't know what happened, but the phone literally flipped forward and disconnected me. So there you go.
You look good, though. You look good.
Looks Canadian, doesn't he? Ooh.
Yeah.
What do we do at a buddy's cottage?
We're here. It's his son actually plays for the Providence Bruins. Matt Potter is the kid's name. So we're going to watch Providence play in the American League a little bit later tonight over the Leafs and Sabres. So there you go. Yeah. And then obviously we're going to dial into the Blue Jays and the start of the World Series. So that's a little bit of cottage work. As soon as I hang up with you guys, I see they've got a fire going beside me.
Oh, burning
two city slickers starting a fire.
Lots of gas.
Yeah, lots of gas. Yeah, lots.
But no, other than that, it'll just be a good time this weekend. That's what we're doing.
Good.
Now, I'm not here to say that I don't believe Pierre LeBrun, because I believe what he said to be. That Craig Conroy is working all that sort of thing.
Making calls.
I said this before. There's two things that'll be happening. There'll be what Craig Conroy is saying, and what Conroy is thinking or doing. I think you need to come out and say, yeah, we're looking at ways to get better. We want to get our offense going. We need to
still early
spark. I'm the GM. It's my job to help the coach. And sure. Yeah. I don't think there's any trade coming. I think that I think he knows what he's got, and he knows what's in the offing this summer in terms of draft picks and lotteries and players and that. I don't see Craig Conroy spending assets to bring anything in here. Am I off?
No, I don't think you're off. You know, it depends on the timing of when he makes a trade and the significance, obviously, of that trade. But I'll pull the insider curtain back. Anytime you hear one of us, and I include myself in this, say, oh, yeah, he's making calls, he's listening, he's being proactive, he's doing this. Well, what else would they be doing?
It's their job.
That is their job. So it doesn't matter if you're top of the National Hockey League or you're starving for offense. I mean, that's literally what you do. But then you have to look at where we're at in the regular season, and you're not getting anything of fair value that is going to help you now. Might be a short-term bump. And again, let's be specific here to what you're moving out to acquire the pieces. You know, literally, we're talking about Rasmus Andersson, and we're talking about now, based on speculation, Nazem Kadri. Andersson is more real for me for a number of different reasons. Nazem Kadri might develop into being more real, but right now the focus around him is, all right, well, let's get him past 1,000 games. Let's see where we're at the 20-game mark, and then maybe you have to reevaluate. You know, there are managers out there, and there are so many teams, as we know, looking for a number 2 center. And now, because of the poor start of the Calgary Flames, you have every market that is in that world looking for a number 2 center, you know, now trying to downplay the possibility of Nazem Kadri.
Yeah.
Come on. Like, let's be serious here for a moment. Like, if Craig Conroy and Nazem Kadri and his camp decide that Calgary isn't the right fit, Calgary's going into a different direction, whenever that is, probably second half of the season, you don't think the Montreal Canadiens go down the list of all the teams that are looking for that 2C would be all over them? I mean, you can argue whether or not, you know, he's rock solid in that, and how long he'll be rock solid as a 2C. We can have that discussion. But for any team that thinks they're in a contending conversation or on the cusp of being a contender, of course you're going to be interested in Kadri for a myriad of, and that's where it gets more interesting for me from Conroy's perspective and the Calgary Flames, because how are they going to do this? Is it a transition on the fly? Is that what they're hoping for? Is it a modified tank or whatever the market is reporting on? I can't remember the exact language used to describe what tank would look like. But I can tell you, fellas, I remember having this conversation with Mark Chipman a couple of years ago before Hellebuck and Scheifele extended long-term. And he went through an exhaustive process and talked to all the teams that went through a renovation or a rebuild. And specifically, one of them that jumped out is Detroit. And how long it takes to do it right. You guys tell me, you got a new building coming. Are the Flames an organization that can endure that sort of a rebuild, like 7, 8+ years? I mean, some markets can't do it. Winnipeg couldn't do it. And
I don't think
ownership in Calgary is going, no, we're not doing that.
You just brought up Montreal. Did Montreal rebuild or did they retool on the fly?
In the final
some of
COVID.
this stuff is about how you sell it too, right?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yep. Yeah.
Use the word you want. Like, here's where it's different than other spots. They're not a really old team with a bad prospect pipeline that's saying we have to tear it down. They've got a really strong system. They're just missing stars. Yes. And you're in a unique position where with the start they're off to, all of a sudden they are projected to be a bottom 5 team where you can go get an impact player. So how many veterans you cut loose versus keep, I suppose, is the debate.
Yeah. And that's a fair assessment. And I think internally that's where the struggle lies. And then timing too, right? Kadri as protection. Rasmus Anderson is equally complicated, but that's been out there for so long. How many teams can afford to tear apart their roster to give the assets less than 10 games? Nobody can do that, or nobody's willing to do that. So this is all about the fact that the Flames can't score and they're off to a bad start. And, we're looking at the possibilities. But it's fair to look, it's fair to speculate. But let's be honest on the timing of this. If there was something that Conroy could do that would fix this team or help this team, of course he'd do that. Every GM would do that. It's not real right now. So you have to look internally, and you got to expect the pieces that have delivered in the past to find a way to lead now.
Yeah. If there's a trade, he may be talking trade. But you got to be a seller. You're not buying.
Well, I can only think the only situation I can think of, Dino, is like, could you move out a 29-year-old forward and get a 20-year-old that's 13th on someone else's depth chart? Like, maybe. I don't think that's front burner at all. But if they're going to add, that's the only kind of adding they're doing in my mind. Get younger, continue to this collection of guys heading towards their prime, not coming out of their prime.
Yeah. And Montreal always comes up because of the market. Every Canadian market is rabid, right? Like, everybody wants to talk about how you can make your team better. What's a little bit different about the Montreal Canadiens, this is why I have time in just going through the speculation and the process of all of this. As you look at the young talent pool in Montreal, spend a few minutes looking at Laval, their American League system, and what they've got coming. Mm-hmm. I mean, their young talent pool is really, really good. Really, really good. So, and maybe depending on the piece that we're talking about here, they've also got some good young NHL players that would be attractive to teams. And if you're Ken Hughes and you've got Marty St. Louis breathing down your neck on a night in and night out basis, because this is where, look, I mean, the general managers always want to be patient and methodical, and they want to find that perfect balance. You know what head coaches want to do? Win. Yeah. That's what head coaches want to do. Yeah. So they're like, yeah, that's great. We've got this center who's coming up in Montreal. He's 2-3 years from being a decent NHL player. Well, the head coach is probably going, yeah, well, you know what? If we add the right piece, maybe we're contending for a Stanley Cup in the next 2-3 years if what we're seeing in Montreal is real. So I think that's where a lot of the speculation around Kadri and other pieces comes from.
I know in the summer there's a lot of Sid to Montreal connections. He cheered for the team, blah, blah, blah. Pittsburgh's off to a great start. That's clearly, whether it was hot or not, it's colder than it was.
Yeah.
The Montreal fit is so unique because of what you just said. Like, you've got so many good young players, and they've been patient. And now when you see them go to the draft and move 2 picks in the teens to get Dobson, they're clearly we're now in the spend futures to get current assets game rather than what they've been since the COVID final, which is collect young assets. And they've got Hage is a first-round center that came out of Chicago Steel. Reinbacher's still in the A. They got the Fowler goaltender that would BU or BC. There's a lot of very good young prospects, and they've got their picks. That team is going to have a lot of bullets, whether it's Kadri or Crosby or anyone else.
Yeah, and again, if you're a general manager dealing with Ken Hughes, aren't you targeting one of the guys that you just mentioned? Hage is the kid that they think is going to be a really good center. But they're realistic in saying, okay, well, he's at least 2 years away from being the player that we need him to be. And then who knows after that? I don't know how much time you guys spend around the Montreal Canadiens, but like Zach Bolduc, like Logan Mailloux was a good prospect in Montreal. He was. So they make that trade and acquire Bolduc. I mean, this kid is really good, really good. And, he's a low 20-something. So those are the type of pieces, Ken Hughes has been looking for that number 2 center for as long as all the other general managers that are looking for as center. It's just, again, we're early in the regular season, and you've got a team like Calgary that's floundered. You've got, a team like Tampa Bay Lightning that are sitting last in the Atlantic Division. You've got Vancouver because of the injury issues. You've got the Toronto Maple Leafs because they too are floundering. Those are strong markets where the whirlwind just flows, right? But I don't think it's real until you get to around the 20-game mark, and then you start getting the pressures from above, where ownership is like, okay, what are we doing here? What are we doing? Because we've got to map out a plan here to move forward.
So that's sort of American Thanksgiving, the 20 games.
Well, I was going to say, and it'll be here probably with the compressed schedule. It'll be here in a hurry. They're playing every second game. This schedule it's at a breakneck pace. Yeah, that Bolduc, I think he scored as a Blue against the Flames last year. He scored the other night as a Hab against the Flames. The kid can score.
Is Kirby Dach going to come around and play? Like what?
They've tried, Rhett. And so in fairness to Kirby Dach, he's had a couple of miserable years because of injury. And, then they like the look of him with Demidov and Patrick Laine. Well, when you're centering those two kids, what are you doing? You're defending. That's what you're doing as a centerman. And so they thought, okay, well, he's healthy. Let's give him an opportunity away from those two just to see if we can kind of push a little bit more offense out of him. And there's been glimmers, but there hasn't been anything consistently yet. And if he can get going, then I think they're a pretty well-rounded team. I do. I don't see a whole lot of holes there other than, inexperience. Montembeault played last night. He was fine. He was fine. But they've got Dobish, who is, making a case that he's going to wrestle away the number 1 status from Sam Montembeault. And but that's a healthy battle. That's the level of compete you want in every position. So they're an interesting club. This start in Montreal is no fluke. And even you look back at last night and then the reaction to last night with, the sketchy officiating and how Gallagher went after the officials and Cole Caulfield, threw a hard one. Even Marty St. Louis talked about how, as a coaching staff, we go through tape and we dice up video and we show it to our players. That's all in an effort to get better. Let's hope the National Hockey League does that with its officiating group. I mean, again, so early in the year, what that tells me or shows me is the level of commitment that team has right now. So it's one of the better stories in the league for sure.
It's interesting because we're living it here in Calgary where the team's on you lose a bunch of games and it's okay. Yeah. It starts getting late early. You mentioned Tampa Bay. They've got 1 win in 7.
Yeah.
Tough division, tough conference, that whole thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe some people have been kind of waiting. Okay, they went through, they had their cups, they had their runs. Now guys are aging. It's starting. We heard that John Cooper got an extension in the offseason. That was kind of quiet. I don't know that not that he's getting fired, but are we starting to see that now where they spent a lot of picks, spent a lot of assets, guys are older, that they're now on that backslide? Or because I don't know, can you, like you say, tinker and retool on the fly when you've spent as many assets as they have?
Well, they have, and Julien Brisebois has done terrific work there in doing that. Like, you look at the moves that he's made around the trade deadline. He just finds a way, right? It's all in every single year. I laugh at when, presidents of clubs and even owners will weigh, oh, we're going for it this year. We're going all in. Well, in Tampa Bay and the Florida Panthers, that's been the mark of success for several years now, right? So I think that Brisebois will try and find a way, but you do have to wonder what's going on there with some of their aging guys. But, they bit down hard in recent years. I mean, to allow Stamkos to move on, some of the other bold moves that they've made, I still think they're a very good team, and I think they're going to contend for the Stanley Cup. But right now, it looks sketchy at best.
I saw the clip from you're with Poitras there. He might be looking to get called up. They've lost 6 in a row. And McAvoy was like, "This is devastating. This is killing us right now."
So kind of had a good start.
Yeah, they're 3-6. So after the 3 games to start the season, they've lost 6 in a row. It's hard not to panic, I think, for some of these teams. A 6-game losing skid, that's like we talk about here. Good teams don't do that all season. And here it feels like they might hit that a few times, depending on how.
Yeah, they might. But then I look at some of the teams that are going to make a move. And you've got Montreal leading the division. Ottawa's going to be better. Tampa Bay is for sure going to be better. I don't know what Boston is. Maybe you guys can explain it to me. I mean, they're a team with a few good players. And I mean, that's being unfair. They're a team with a few star players, right? But beyond that,
they're Swayman. They're a goaltender. They're a goaltending team. If the goaltender can carry them, they can maybe hang in there. If the goaltender's not a superstar, a top 5 or 10, then they're in trouble.
And I mean, this is me being somewhat critical. I just, and maybe it's the pressure of ownership and the pressure of that market too. Just always expecting, okay, well, we're by DNA a competitive group, but let's just. This free agent, that player, let's add this. We got to have experience around us. So they add these pieces, but these pieces don't ever seem to fit in the spots that they need them to fit. And that has to be incredibly frustrating. I think Marco Sturm's a good coach, and I think he's a really good coach. And I do think that the better times are ahead for the Boston Bruins. It's just they just aren't willing to accept that there are certain phases where you have to go through where you got to take in the teeth. That's just the reality. You've got good goaltending under long-term contracts, so you're going to stay competitive, but give these young guys an opportunity to prove that they're ready to be NHL players as opposed to bringing in, some of the other guys.
It goes back a ways. I remember Rick Nash going to Boston.
Yeah.
Well, geez, they had the best regular season we've ever seen in our lives 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think they're still kind of clinging to that core that ain't there anymore. Like it's not Chara, it's not Marchand, it's not Bergeron. They got McAvoy left, but like Lindholm's your top center and Zadorov's a top 3D. We've seen that here. It's not going to work.
Yeah, that's not
no. And look, guys, we saw it on Tuesday night, the homecoming of Brad Marchand as Florida visited Boston, and just the raw, honest emotion that poured out of Brad Marchand in front of the thousands of the faithful there. They made a business decision to allow that man to leave. Mm-hmm. And good for him because he won a Stanley Cup with the Florida Panthers, obviously. Who knows? They might win 3 in a row. They might. I mean, with the leadership that he adds to there. But how do you allow a piece like that to walk? For what? Like another year on the contract extension? Maybe a couple $1 million. Like, what are we talking about here from the Jacobs family? And then again, you take everything that Brad Marchand embodies in a player out of that organization.
Yeah.
And now all these young guys are floundering to a point. Marco Sturm doesn't have that layer of experience that he would have in Brad Marchand. I mean, there have just been some real questionable decisions there for me.
I bring it up only because I saw somebody on social media and they were talking about the Carolina Hurricanes and Kadri. Could Kadri be a fit there? I'm curious about them because I think they're 6-1. So they've had a very good start. No one really pays attention to them, right?
Ever.
But they're 6-1. They signed Ehlers. He's had a bad start, 2 assists in 7 games. They did the Mikko Rantanen thing last year. Did it work out?
No,
to be debated, right? He didn't stick around anyway. And I wonder, it's another year under the belt of ownership for Tom Dundon, and he's very hands-on. And if he looks around, is he going to be more aggressive if he figures that the landscape is maybe there for the taking? Is there more trepidation because of what happened with Rantanen? I'm very curious about what goes on there.
No, there's no trepidation, man. This guy just is not wired that way. He is just like full throttle. Let's figure it out. Let's find it within reason. I mean, there is a business attachment to this. Like they were real close in signing Mikey McLeod, and then some stuff happened, and they decided that this wasn't going to work, and it didn't work, and Mikey McLeod ends up. But I mean, he just wants to add pieces that they believe as a hockey operations group there that are going to ultimately win a Stanley Cup. So I think he's going to be aggressive in every way possible, especially in talking about some of the best forwards that could be available in the market. And that's why, again, when I not to go back to the whole Nazem Kadri conversation we had earlier on, but it is relevant with the Carolina Hurricanes because, these markets are trying to tamp down expectation only because of the timing of the regular season. But I can't imagine that Eric Tulsky, the general manager, or directly Tom Dundon, hasn't reached out to Calgary to say, all right, well, when or if you put this guy on the market, we want to be there. We want to have that conversation with you. That's just, and I have all the time in the world. There are a few teams that do it as aggressively as Carolina does, right? Dallas is one of those teams, but Dallas lands the players. Carolina for sure is one of those teams, and Carolina, despite the Mikko Rantanen thing, unraveling, they still landed that player. They still ended up getting that player from, the Colorado Avalanche. And then you look at what the Avalanche are going to have to face in Marty Necas. I mean, that's fine. That again is the business side. So Dundon is one of the better ones at finding those fits with a good hockey man and Eric Tulsky and obviously Rod Brind'Amour. So they're going to be a big player, I think.
Is anyone happy about the Blue Jays and being in the World Series and the Toronto Maple Leafs, who seem to be off to a very uninspired start, but are not center stage, front page of the sports section?
Yeah, I think the Leafs are better than okay with the fact that the Blue Jays are going to the World Series. And I mean, I was asked about it on Toronto radio, obviously, this morning, but they're going with the nuclear option of putting William Nylander on a line with Austin Matthews. And there's a little bit of scuttlebutt around that in the market. But I'm telling you, if the Blue Jays were out of the playoffs, there would be hour by hour coverage of this and what that looks like. And so, I mean, again, for those of us who are invested in it, and there are many in the Toronto market, sure, they'll be keeping a watchful eye on what's going on against the Buffalo Sabres in this home and home. And then you play the what if game. Well, what if Nylander and Matthews don't work? It isn't an obvious fit. And they lay another egg. Then what happens? I mean, we did the game on Tuesday. And that New Jersey Devils team is a real good team. Yeah. They are. I mean, they push with pace. You've got, the elite talent of Jack Hughes. Their goaltending on that night was good. They found a way to follow it up. But Toronto was sloppy. At the end of the day. And the extended storyline of Anthony Stolarz, going ballistic on Saturday night after the overtime loss against Seattle. And then he follows it up. And Stolarz let in one maybe soft goal. That Toronto was terrible in that game, in my opinion. There were 2 3-on-1s and a 4-on-1.
Jeez.
And yet Stolarz comes out after the game and on Tuesday night and says, I loved our effort. Really? What? Like, what about it did you love? I don't know. I guess you could see the puck better because there was only one defender in front of him. But no, other than that. So, yeah, I mean, they're openly cheering for the Blue Jays to keep this thing as extended as it possibly can.
7 games. Go 7 games.
Buy us 2 more weeks, please. Anaheim and San Jose are both teams in the Flames division that are young and up and coming. San Jose finally got the first win last night on the backs of a 5-point night from Macklin Celebrini. But the Ducks, man, are they here? Like Quenneville, that group, they put up 7 last night.
Yeah, here might be a bit of a stretch, but closer to here than there. and a part of it would be coaching, of course. But if you're Pat Verbeek and the Anaheim Ducks, you don't go out and add the experience of Joe Quenneville if you're not committed to making the roster moves that they've made. And they've extended core pieces, as we know. Again, Verbeek is one of those GMs. He learned from Steve Yzerman, just go about your business and do it as quietly and under the radar as you possibly can. I mean, I don't think Anaheim can be done by a long shot in terms of getting into, the bigger player sort of scenarios. And I'd throw, the Philadelphia Flyers into that equation as well. Philadelphia feels like they've got some growing pains ahead. I'm sure Anaheim feels kind of the same, but those are two organizations that also believe that they've done enough, that they can keep it interesting. But if the right players surface either through trade or free agency in the summer, then they'll take another leap forward and get into that place where they're a playoff worthy or contending team.
So when you go to somebody else's cottage and, there's going to be some meals made, maybe somebody's putting something on the grill.
Yeah.
Is it hard because you're a polite guy? Is it hard for you to kind of sit back and watch, like, how are you going to flip those things soon? Or how are we seasoning these things? What are we?
No, buddy. So here's what I did, and I'm not bragging. It's just you nailed it. I'm not really good at sitting back and just watching others do this stuff. I spent the better part of 7 hours yesterday. It's a 3-2-1 method of making ribs. So I've got the barbecued ribs all ready. They just have to go in the oven. Let's warm them up. My lovely bride, Holly, made 3 separate salads. Wow. Yeah. So
you're invited to my house, Dregs.
Anytime.
I had a feeling.
How old does that travel? Can we get those out here?
I'll buy the flight. Let's go.
Yeah,
let's
awesome.
go. I'm ready.
World Series, what's your pick? How you feeling about it?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's one of the few times where I call myself a fan. So obviously I'm cheering for the Blue Jays. Season series aside, I think this Dodgers team is too strong and too deep. So I hope it goes 6. 7 would be awesome because then it turns into a flip 'em type of scenario. I don't think so, man. Aside from the Springer, obviously 3-run home run in the 7th, they were, in my opinion, they were as flat as piss on a plate in Game 7. They were. And then all of a sudden, one swing, boom, away we go. And I don't think you can get away with that against the Dodgers.
It's the best starting rotation in baseball by about 1,000 miles. And it'll be a good test for the Jays lineup, which is the hardest to get out. They put the ball in play the most. They don't strike out at all compared to anyone else. So you're going to have to get into those bullpens. That's not going to be easy against these guys.
Or the ribs.
No.
Or just get into the ribs.
Get into the ribs.
Focus on the ribs. If the game's going slow, you maybe have a little nap there. Just get cozy.
We've got everything here. We've got beef stew. We've got ribs. We've got pizza, wings. We got a little bit of everything here.
Get the hell out of here, then.
We got a nightcap lined up. We got a nice scotch or a bourbon or what?
I don't worry about that either.
Okay.
No, fully stocked. We're all good to go there.
No worries.
It's living right.
Enjoy, Dregs. Appreciate you, pal.
Okay, guys. Have a great weekend.
Hey, buddies. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Also, if you could throw in a like and subscribe, it does help us out with what it is we are doing. And check out more at flamesnation.ca.